CP2 covers a great deal of vocabulary within circles. So we'll be talking about what a radius, diameter, chord, tangent, and secant is. We also will talk about minor arcs, semicircles, and major arcs. And we will begin to talk about central angles. Okay, so a circle is really defined as a set of points in a plane that are the same distance. Okay, that distance ends up being our radius from a given point. That given point ends up being our center. Most of you at this point should be pretty good at recognizing circles, I hope. So really this is just a formal definition. My radius looks like that, remember. My diameter is any line segment that passes through the center of the circle and connects 2 points on the circle. So it cuts my circle in half. I drew this one going straight across, but I could have it going really any direction as long as it passes through that center. My radius then connects the center of the circle to a point on the circle. So it's half as big as the diameter. If I have two circles with the same radius, then those circles are congruent. So if this is x and this is also x, these circles are exactly the same, just in different locations. Two circles with the same center then are said to be concentric. So they have one center. One circle's bigger or smaller than the other one. They're concentric. An arc is two endpoints and the continuous part of the circle between them. So if I had an endpoint here called A, and I put another point here called B, this section of my circle would be arc AB. We say out loud, arc AB. When I write about it, I have my two endpoints, and I draw a little tiny arc above it. A semicircle then is an arc whose endpoints are also endpoints of a diameter, meaning it's cutting that circle exactly in half. So if I had an endpoint here and I had an endpoint here, and my center was here, so I know for sure that it's a semicircle. If I said this is x, this is y, I need one more point somewhere in there. So I'm going to put z there and I'm going to put w here. I would say semicircle x, z, y. I'm going to write it x, z, y with a big arc. And the reason I want the letter in between is if I just say semicircle x, y, you don't know if I'm talking about this semicircle or this semicircle. Okay, so you need to include one more letter that's in between x and y so that we know which one you're talking about. A minor arc is an arc that is less than a semicircle. We don't have any special thing. We just do two letters. So let's do DE. We write DE, little arc symbol above it, and we say arc DE. A major arc then is one that is more than a semicircle. It's greater than that. And when you are filling in assignments on this, make it really, really obvious that it's a major arc and not a semicircle. So if I had, let's say, GHJ, I need to use three letters saying, it's like GHJ here. So I would write GHJ with the big arc symbol above it, and I would say major arc GHJ. Major arcs and semicircles are the only time we use three letters. If I just said arc GJ, that would imply the minor arc between G and J. Okay, but because I put the H in there, it says, hey, you need to go past H first. A central angle then is an angle whose vertex is located at the center of the circle. And the measure of the central angle equals the arc measure. So if I say this angle is 32 degrees, this arc measure is 32 degrees. A chord is going to be a line segment whose endpoints are on the circle. We write it just like a line segment. So if this was F and this was T, I would say this is FT. A secant then is like a chord that keeps going. So it's a line that intersects the circle twice. If this was M and this was N, again, if I were writing about that, I would write about it just like I do with a line. A tangent is a line that intersects the circle exactly once. If this was P and this was L, I would say, hey, this is a tangent line, or I would say line PL is tangent to such and such circle. Okay, but again, I write about it just like I do when I'm writing about lines. All right, so we're going to do an example quick where you're asked to name a bunch of different things. If I'm looking for a major arc, I need any 3 letters that take up more than half of the circle. When you're doing this, I wouldn't pick like F, D, C because it's like it kind of looks like it's more, but I'm not positive. Okay? I would pick something that's really obviously a major arc. So if I did like F, D, H, okay, or if I did F, B, E, this piece, something that's really, really clearly more than half of the circle, so you can tell that, hey, I know what a major arc is. Okay. Remember, we need to use 3 letters. There's a whole bunch of different ways you could name these. The big thing is if I'm looking at the red arc that I highlighted there that starts at F and ends with H, I need to have another letter in between. So I can pick D, I can pick I can pick B, or I think this is K or C or J or E, but I need to pick one of them. Okay, so I'm going to pick D because it's the first letter and I'm done. Put the little arc symbol above and you're good to go. Your minor arc then needs to be less than a semicircle. And again, I would pick one that's really minor or really clearly minor. Not something that like, well, it kind of looks like it, like FK. It looks like it's less than a semicircle, but I can't really prove it without like measuring it all out. So I'm not going to go with that one. I would pick like FD or even FI. And then minor arc, remember, we just use 2 letters and the symbol above. When I get to a semicircle, I can kind of eyeball it and be like, well, these kind of look like they're across from each other, like HDI kind of look like they could be all in a row if I like played connect the dots. I don't want you to do that though. I want you to pick one that has a diameter drawn in. So I'm going to look at DBE. Okay. Or I could do DFE. Remember, you need to have 3 letters. So you need to have the 2 endpoints on the end and 1 more point that's in between to name a semicircle. A radius always starts at the center and goes out to a point on the circle. And you're going to pick one that is drawn in. Okay, so I can pick AF, AD, or AE. I'm going to go with AF, and we write about that just like when it's a line segment. My diameter then has to be drawn in already. So I only have one choice, which is DE. And again, I write about it just like it's a line segment. My tangent line has to be one that touches twice and then never again. So I have this line right here, touching once and then going off in either direction. I'm going to write about it just like if it's a line, because it is. So I could say LK, 2 letters, line symbol on top. My chord needs to be a line segment inside the circle. So I really only have GH. I could do IJ and say, hey, I'm just talking about this part of it. And you could make that argument, but you're not going to. So don't pick that one. I want you to pick one that stops so you can really clearly show me that you know what a chord is. So my only choice here is GH. And again, I write about it just like it's a line segment. My secant then is the one that keeps going. So now I'm picking IJ, and to indicate that it keeps going, I'm putting the little arrows on either side to say, hey, this is a line, it crosses through the circle, it keeps going forever and ever. There will be some vocabulary Quizlets on Schoology, and of course this video, as well as a few other practice resources if you are struggling with some of this vocab.